When I first saw the trailer to The Bride, I honestly didn't know what to think of it. It looked kind of like one of those Joker knockoffs like Cruella, but after seeing Mad Max Fury Road on the big screen, and boy was it worth it, I had a few hours to kill and it was up next. So I got my ticket, sat down, and boy, it wasn't what I was expecting. This is a movie that throws so many things at you and clearly doesn't care what you think of it. Now, does that make it a good movie? No, but it does make it an interesting movie. Frankenstein, played by Christian Bale, is lonely and wants a bride. So with the help of a mad scientist, they bring back to life a recently killed woman, played by Jessica Buckley, who died after being possessed by the ghost of Mary Shelley. Yeah, we'll get to that. The bride wakes up with no memory but is extremely carefree and wild. After violently defending themselves, they go on the run across the US, causing chaos wherever they go while being chased by the cops. So let's talk about the most jarring element that immediately hits you, and that's the Mary Shelley possession of the bride.
It's me, Mary Shelley.
Do you remember Johnny Depp's performance as the Mad Hatter in The Terrible Alice in Wonderland?
The toves did gyre and gimble on the wave. Old Mimsy with the Burgroves and the Mome Rath's grave.
I have an unpleasant tingler sensation, frothing, feeling itchy, concupiscent, satiric, loaded, abounding, which is quite hard to bear, as you can imagine.
That's basically what the possession turns the character into. And honestly, I have no idea why. It gets really pretentious at points and just distractingly silly at others. She often goes on rambling tangents which don't always connect to scenes, which is kind of unfortunate because when the bride is just herself, she is a lot more interesting. The movie incorporates a lot of experimental editing and filmmaking choices that are very hit and miss. An example of it working is when Frankenstein is at a club and sees the bride dancing, but reimagines it in his head as a 30s musical number which he likes watching at the theater. This is a nice way of showing his internal thoughts in a combined way with his hobby. Is this obviously taken partially from Young Frankenstein? Oh, definitely. He even sings Putting on the Ritz later in the movie, but it takes place in the 30s and plays into the plot, so I'm willing to give it some leeway. But for every experiment that works, you have about 3 that really don't. Right after that scene, the bride is dancing with people getting too handsy with her, and it's just a mess of strobe lights and I can't tell what's going on. There are also a lot of moments I can't tell if it's supposed to be a visual representation or literally happening. At one point, Frankenstein and the bride are shown on the big screen, which I thought was supposed to be a metaphorical moment, but then a third character looks up and sees it. So is she looking at them too? The main focus of the movie is the romance between Frankenstein and the bride, and it's actually not done terribly. I can believe these two would see something in each other, but what the couple actually is can get muddied at times. The movie wants to portray the monsters as a Bonnie and Clyde type couple. The issue being Bonnie and Clyde were perceived as folk heroes, but also certainly bad people. This movie gets the folk hero angle down, but I don't think it understands that its protagonists are bad people. Some of the people they kill are justified, but then the bride shoots a cop walking up to disarm her while she's pointing a gun at a crowd of unarmed people.
Hold it!
The movie later goes on to claim it was self-defense.
The only one they have on her is the Coptic criterion, and that was self-defense.
Hold it!
No.
Self-defense.
Just no. The movie feels like a collection of ideas without any idea of how to implement them. At one point, the bride as Mary Shelley starts shouting out random women's names while looking at rich men.
Elsie, Lucy, May, Ray, all found dead with their tongues cut out.
I had to look it up, but I think they were dead women the rich people abused? First off, the fact that she's mixing these with Mary Shelley's ranting makes it hard to figure out. Second, I have no idea who these women are, so I didn't understand what was going on. At least do a cutaway to the men killing their victims. Third, Mary Shelley can speak to dead people? Are we not going to address this? And finally, this causes a feminist vigilante movement across the country, and I'm not kidding, it never comes up again until a mid-credit scene. You could entirely remove it because it is not even woven into the story. It's just placed into it. There are dozens of ideas and subplots that feel the exact same way. I should mention there is a subplot involving 2 detectives following the bride, and while fine, doesn't really have a point. Like most subplots. There is a connection between the detective and the bride, but it's so minor it's not even worth bringing up. The most unfortunate aspect of this movie is that everyone is clearly trying their hardest. It mostly looks good and the makeup is well done. None of the actors are bad and they're clearly giving it their all. They just don't have anything to work with. When your direction is just to scream synonyms, what else can you do?
Falling in love again. Oh, button up your britches, girl. Never wanted to. No, what am I to do?
With all those negative points though, I will say this is a very interesting failure. Compared to movies like the Jurassic World sequels where I forget about them as soon as I see them, I will remember seeing The Bride. Do I recommend seeing it just out of curiosity? If you want to see a movie that tries hard but fails, and are at home. This movie is 2 hours and by God, you can really feel it. At least at home, you can fast forward. But if you're looking for a good Frankenstein movie with an interesting twist, I'd go with Del Toro's Frankenstein or Edward Scissorhands. I give it a very generous 3 out of 10.